Hello, everybody, and happy Memorial Day. Welcome to another episode of Big Bold You, a show that is dedicated to inspiring every person out there. And yes, we do mean you to play bigger in your life, not just by your actions, but by how you think. You know, you have to think it before you do it. We want to inspire you to be bolder, which means you are going to have to step out of your comfort zone so you can become the best version of you. I believe that we live in a world where there is a war between good and evil, and the only way evil wins is when good people don't do enough. So every Monday at 3 p.m. Central, we have an incredible guest. We've got a topic to inspire you, and we've got some tips and some other topics that are going to really hopefully make you feel better about where you are in your life and inspire you to do more because you can. So today, for Memorial Day, we are so excited to have an incredible guest, somebody that has become near and dear to my heart, and I know will become near and dear to you, and that is Germaine Gaspard. Germaine, welcome to the
Hey,
show.
James, how are you doing today?
Doing so great. I mean, I'm telling you, we've known each other now for, I don't know, maybe about a year, maybe about a
good
year.
year, a good
But
year.
I will tell you that I want everybody to just to hear from your words, just really kind of who you are, what you have done to get you to the place where you are right now, and really kind of just what makes you special and unique.
Well, my name is Germaine. I was asked the other day, well, what's your title? What do we call you? I said, Germaine. There are a couple of guys called Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John,
That's right.
and they work on first name basis.
Right.
So I'm trying to live my life to be identified on a first name basis.
I love that, Germaine, because see, that's the truth. I mean,
Yes.
it's so many times, and even with the show, people, when I have a guest on, they will say, what's their title? What's their title? And I love it when somebody approaches life in that same manner because it's really we are on a mission,
Without a doubt.
and for those of us that, like yourself, that are making an impact on so many people's lives in your lives, and we're going to get into that. Germaine is all you need to know.
That's all. Right? I mean, I'm a father, I'm an entrepreneur, and I create transformational leaders.
You do.
That is my purpose in life. That is what I was given.
It's your gift. It's
agree.
your gift, but you've been through some trials.
Without a doubt.
You've been through some trials, and I would love, that saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And to me, that is who you are at the essence of your being, is you sincerely, genuinely care on such a deep level. But what are some of the events in your life that has allowed you to be able to have that empathy with other people?
Without a doubt. There's never a testimony without a test first.
100%.
So my test came at an early age because I was giving a purpose at my onset. Going through having a father that was addicted to drugs, alcohol, and women. I spoke about that during my TED Talk.
I know that was amazing TED Talk. And we've got to make sure that we put the link of Germaine's TED Talk in the comments because it's a life-changing talk.
Definitely. From being abandoned to seeing the inside of state facilities because my father left me behind, and growing through the process, right? And understanding that everything that I have been through has helped to create me. I stand before you not in spite of, but rather because of.
Absolutely. But
So-
when did you, what I want to know is how old were you when you experienced some of these very challenging events, and at what age did you say, this isn't going to define me, this pain is going to become part of my purpose?
Well, it started as early as the first grade. As early as the first grade, I was by myself for long periods of time. My father would come home as he saw fit. As he used drugs, I would follow with him or go with him to the drug homes, the drug houses, and things of that nature, and wait for him to finish, and then we would do what's next.
Did you know what was going on at that age?
Absolutely not. I was protected. Right?
Right.
So no different than a seed. When you have a seed in your hand, what you see is the outside covering. And the purpose for that seed, the outside covering, is to protect the essence of what's inside of it. And that's the fruit. So going through that process, I was just covered like that seed. And eventually going through the trials and tribulations, going through the struggles, learning how to cope, learning how to have empathy, it gave me the span and the wherewithal to have empathy for others. So a lot of the coaching that I do, that's one-on-one coaching or team-based coaching, it comes from the perspective of love, knowing that, hey, just because we're at the bottom doesn't mean we have to stay at the bottom.
Right. And one of the things that we just had such I don't know about you, but I feel like it was an instant connection because I'm based in love, and that's how you are. And I honestly, I see no difference in people. I don't see people as some are higher and some are level. I don't see people that way. I mean, my dad growing up, he grew up very, very poor. He was a professional athlete. And when we were growing up, I mean, he just taught us, to your point, your title, it doesn't define who you are. It doesn't matter who somebody is. Everybody is contributing to make this world a better place, which is what I love so much about even Memorial Day. Today we are honoring those veterans that have died in pursuit of the freedom of our country. What they did is just as important as what you're doing. It's just as important as what I'm doing. We all serve a purpose, and nothing goes to waste if we realize that.
Without a doubt. And the idea of memorial speaks to death. We have learned through history, through examples, through stories, that we as humans, one of our strongest traits is our adaptability. So we can live with just about anything and survive.
Right.
The question is, what are you willing to die for? What are you not willing to live with?
Right.
Then that speaks to what you stand for.
Right.
And that's the memorial that you leave.
It's your legacy.
Correct.
It's your legacy.
100%. So as we look at each other's memorial, the question is, what are you going to leave? Oftentimes we see the most wealthiest place on earth is the graveyard.
Right.
Because that's where dreams go to die.
That's exactly right.
So the idea is to die empty.
Right.
And
I know, just leave it all on the field. I mean,
No doubt.
really, you gotta leave it all. And I'll tell you, it's scary sometimes, right? It's scary because sometimes you think, oh gosh, I can't do this. Yes, you can.
Yes.
I can't get up again. Yes, you can. I was talking to Germaine and I said, Germaine, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Well, all weekend long, you've been in Atlanta.
I have. I left 12 o'clock this morning, midnight,
I know,
just to get here.
Yeah, Germaine said, I'm going to leave at midnight and I'll see you in a little bit,
No
but
doubt.
it's that mentality where we can always do more than we think we can do. We can always get up, and it doesn't matter how hard we've been hit. You can always get up, but that comes from experience.
Without a doubt.
It comes from experience. You got to get it. I mean, for you to be able to get back up.
Well, as I coach and as I train, what we train and the understanding is, again, there is no testimony without there first being a test. There is no accomplishment without there first being adversity.
Right.
So one of the things we do in group settings as well as one-on-one coaching is create adverse situations for the person that we're coaching to maneuver around, because you can't get strong if you're not lifting weights.
That's exactly right.
Whether it's physical or mental weights, right? And even more so emotional weights, because oftentimes emotional weights and emotional ties are what tear us from our God-given abilities.
Oh, definitely.
So what we have to do as great coaches is create those situations and allow them to fail at times, right? Because we fail forward. We generally don't succeed forward. We fail forward.
And you know what? That's one of the reasons why I do love sports, and I do love the physicality of exercise and working out, because it's such a perfect, it's a perfect lesson of what we do with our physical bodies, we have to be able to do emotionally.
Correct.
And that's really, to me, what's the difference? And this is something that my dad taught me at a young age. What's the difference between winners and athletes, winning athletes, and those that don't? He's always said, it's your mental game. It's your mental game. You have to outthink, and you have to outperform in your mind before you can outperform skills. I mean, my dad would say that all the time, is you can have two athletes that are equal in physical capability, and it's the one with the stronger mind that will win every time.
In addition to that, it's about the system, right?
Right.
So if you have a goal and a system and you put them side by side, if you focus on the system without ever looking at the goal, you can attain the goal. If you spend all your time looking at the goal without creating a system, you never attain the goal.
That's right.
So the idea is the creation of systems. The system is more important than the goal. The goal, because what happens generally is we set expectations based on results.
Right.
Then when we have the result, then we're lost because we no longer have a system that challenges us and stretches us. So what we do again as coaches is create these systems and
Right.
create these definitions of and understandings of word that we use to always have an opportunity to be stretched.
And here's the thing too, and I think it's so important is we all know, or at least hopefully we all know this. Hopefully we all know this and understand that we can't reach our fullest potential by ourselves. We have to have somebody stretching us. We have to have somebody helping to create environments for us. We're not ever going to be able to reach our fullest potential by ourselves. And I think sometimes people, and listen, I'm not saying you're not amazing, wonderful, and talented and great, because you are. But what I'm saying is you need people that have your best interest, and they see your potential, and they're going to stretch you to even do more than you ever dreamt possible. And I know that's what you do. I mean, I know that's what I do with the people that I help transform their lives. And I know that's what people do to me. And I don't know about you, but I used to think that to achieve more, you had to work harder. And it's really, you have to work differently.
Yes.
It's not really, sometimes it's not harder, it's you have to work differently.
Correct.
So in your, one of the things that you do when you go out and you speak, and I know a lot of content that you emphasize is living on purpose.
Without a doubt.
And I think, sometimes people, a lot of people, in fact, the majority of people are really just drifting through life. But you don't have to drift through life. In fact, we were designed not to just drift through life. So talk to us a little bit about what that means, living on purpose.
Living life on purpose. So every entity in the world that we know of, in the universe, has a purpose. The only thing that is wasteful are humans, right? Even the leaves on a tree have a purpose. They help create oxygen so that we can live and breathe. What that means is that all of us come to this earth with a purpose. We come with something that only that we can do individually. So once we grasp that idea, that allows us to answer the 4 questions that all humans ask of themselves. Where am I from? Who am I? Where am I going, and what can I do?
Right.
The questions of identity, the questions of where am I from, ethnicity, the question of potential, and then the question of purpose. By identifying those 4 questions, we have the syllabus for our lives in front of us.
Right.
And we don't generally learn that. So again, from our coaching standpoint, what we coach as education is anything that allows you to obtain your goals and your dreams without harming others.
Right.
Everything else are just tools. Math, science, arithmetic, history, sports. These are just tools for you to acquire your vision and your dreams without harming others. When we attack it from that perspective, we always begin with purpose, beginning with the end in mind. Now that we have the end in mind, we can adjust our behavior to match what it is that we want to achieve.
Right.
We can create our system based on the goals that we set.
Right.
Oftentimes people do it in reverse. They create the goal first, the system second.
Right.
And then that doesn't work.
And then so many people, all they do is they function on goals, and they don't have a system whatsoever.
Correct.
So that's a big tip, everybody. It's a huge tip. But one of the things that you talk about with purpose and achieving things that doesn't hurt anybody else. Listen, what you do, and to me, what legacy is when your purpose is always to help make other people better.
Yes.
And that's really everything that you do in your life.
Correct.
So let's talk about all of the different things that you do in your life, because listen, he wears a lot of hats. This guy wears a lot of hats. He's amazing.
Well, I work for the Department of State. So I've been within the Ranger Division in our special ops programming. Prior to that, I was a collegiate athlete. Currently, I coach and mentor CEOs, business executives, athletes. I've just acquired a Olympic athlete that will be competing in 2020, and I'm working with them with the cognitive aspect of their game.
Right.
They're dealing with anxiety and some other issues, so we're working that portion out. And what I do, again, is transformational leadership. And leadership is making those around you better.
Right. Oh, 100%. You know, one of the things I love, there's a bunch of different definitions for leadership, but one of my favorites is a leader gets people to do things they wouldn't have done without them. And because there are a lot of things that you're not going to do by yourself. There's a lot because number one, you need that accountability. Number two, sometimes you don't see the potential within yourself. Number three, you're lazy sometimes. You know, you always accomplish more with people. So when you surround yourself with people that not only inspire, but I say hold your feet to the fire to ensure that you achieve more, that's a leader. And to me, you got to hitch your wagon to real leaders and never let go. That's what I'm telling people. Everything in life happens with a leader. So that's the only way things happen.
No doubt.
Is with the leader. So, you know, but you also, I want to talk about Track Dynamite a little bit.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so one of the things I've been blown away because to me, everything that we have, all of our talents, all of our gifts, we are supposed to make this world a better place and bless other people. And I think sometimes people, they're always doing it within their career. So I'm doing something to bless somebody else, and then I'm getting monetary compensation. But I think that's so important that we get past that and that we're doing things and we're making people better, not because anybody's paying us money, but because that's the right thing to do. We're giving back. And you work with a group and you're giving so much back. It's amazing.
And they're giving to me as well.
That's exactly right.
So it's definitely a transferable relationship. There is no future unless we create it.
Right.
The best way to predict the future is to plan for it. And the way that I plan for it is to pour into young people. Track Dynamite is a track club. There we are.
Yes, they're amazing.
It's a summer track club that we take on athletes age 6 and keep them all the way to 17. We use track as a physical opportunity to reinforce spiritual and mental, emotional, cognitive processes and strengths. And during the process, we develop. It's always a developmental process. For the past 10 years, every senior on our team has received a scholarship, and every senior that we have sent to school for the past 10 years has graduated as well.
I know, that's amazing.
And a lot of that is to the refining process.
Right.
The example, there you see we are at the Atlanta, Georgia Relays, which is an international track meet. We go to places like that are hostile territory for us, right? We go to another state. We're the only Texas team there. It's an international meet, so a lot of our 6-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds have never been in a situation where they are surrounded by other cultures who don't speak their language. And we put them out there and we say, figure it out.
Right.
And
you make them feel a little uncomfortable because you're going to be uncomfortable in
Correct.
life.
Correct. So the idea is to put them in these situations with these boundaries where they can't be maimed. They can be,
right.
You can get a couple of scars, but you can't be maimed, right?
Exactly.
And watching how they operate,
right.
Take notes and then make the adjustments,
right,
and allow them to fail forward. So this past week we were in a track meet, the 4x1 relay. Our 10 and under girls, we were disqualified after winning the race. We went back and we looked at the video. We did not have an infraction. The infraction was we went outside the exchange zone. It didn't happen, right? So now the kids are up in arms. You know, we did everything right. We didn't get the medal. So now what do we use that as a training process?
Right.
We were first in a hostile environment. You did the right thing. There were some errors, some things that we can do better, because our goal, again, is to win a national championship, not to win today.
Right.
So now how are you going to bounce back? Because life always doesn't give you a fair shot.
No.
So now you have to make a decision.
Right.
Do you work harder? Do you quit, or do you move forward?
Right. It's that resiliency that we develop in those situations, which is what you developed within your youth. And you have to have those situations.
Without a doubt.
And I think sometimes as parents, I don't know about you, but I have intentionally, there's 5 kids in our family, and there are situations where I've intentionally allowed things to be difficult and
Yes,
hard.
without a doubt.
Because you have to learn those things. And to your point about life isn't always fair, but there's always a teaching lesson in it. I remember out of the 5 kids, I have one was growing up was a little bit just, I swear he could look at food and he'd gain weight, And one time he came home from school in middle school and he was bawling his eyes out and he said, Mom, they're teasing me, they're bullying me, they're calling me fat, they're saying I'm overweight and all this. And I just listened to him and I said, so what are you going to do about it?
That's right.
What are you going to do about it? If you want to lose weight, let's go put your tennis shoes on and let's go run. I mean, life isn't fair, but it's not what happens to us, because like you said, these things really are happening for us. To your point, you can look at that situation as, man, we got robbed, this and that.
Exactly.
But no, it's an opportunity to learn
Without
and to
a doubt.
grow.
So to that point, the lesson there was, like you said, life is only 10% what happens to you. The other 90% is how you respond.
Always.
The only thing that you have control over is your emotions and how you respond and how you act. So the system that we've created, after they were unsuccessful and didn't receive their medal, what happened next was our 4x2 17 and 18 girls set a record, a meet record, and they were awarded this plaque, which, by the way, we're giving to you for all your support for the track team.
No way. Oh my gosh.
So what happens is, during the system,
Oh, you didn't tell me this now. Don't make me cry. Don't make me cry.
And the reason why we wanted to give you this is because it was blood, sweat, and tears in creating this.
Listen to look at that. That's amazing. But honestly, I'm so blown away by this because I'm so big into energy, and to your point, what you just said is you're handing me something. I mean, seriously, this is the kind of stuff that just gets me, because you're handing me something that it was achieved with hours and hours and hours of hard work, and that blows my mind. This is Germaine, thank you so much to Germaine and to all of the girls and the coaches and the athletes and every person that really is a part of making this
No doubt.
reality.
Well, you've assisted us, and by
my
being there
gosh.
side by side with us, and the plaque is outstanding, right? Mm-hmm. But the bigger thing for us is that the system we created, we let the little girls, the younger girls, see success and what it looks like in the future.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
so-
You have to be able to, visualization is so vitally important in our lives. And you either have the creativity yourself and you can visualize it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's one of the most important traits of a leader is vision.
Yes.
But most people don't have that vision. And so they have to see it, or they have to have a real leader explain it to them so they can visualize it.
Because we all have vision. Oftentimes we don't recognize
Right,
it.
exactly.
So what we teach is brother means to both of us. Same
love
purpose.
that.
Sister means to assist. So after the event happened where we're not allowed to have our medals, we were disqualified. The older girls came in and hugged the younger girls because they were crying and said, "We're going to get a medal for you." And this is what inspired them to break the record.
Right,
Then
exactly.
after breaking the record, then they gave the younger girls their medals.
Oh my gosh.
So the younger girls
Germaine,
gave their
that
medals
is
away.
Amazing.
So now they have the medals and you have the plaque.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will tell you that, we met through Tammy Kling and
Yes.
On Fire Books.
On Fire Books.
And I know that you work with On Fire Books. You're one of the coaches. I'm one of the coaches. You help people write their books, leave their legacies. You transform people's lives. And you asked me to come and speak at Track Dynamite. And the topic was really helping people create happiness and be happy. And I thought, you know what? I just love it that here's this track team. And as a coaching staff, you're really saying, we want our players, it's all about mental.
Yes.
And I loved that. And so I spoke, and then afterwards, Coach Rossum, he said, I went to sit down, and I was actually about to start leaving, and he said, Miss Johnson, how long are you going to stay here? And listen, I was an athlete. I ran track, and I played tennis, and I did gymnastics. There were a lot of things I did. And when a coach asks me when I'm going to leave, it's whenever the coach wants me to. I mean, that's just how I still operate. And when he asked me to stay, and I stayed, and I listened to what Coach Rossum and what you are pouring into these athletes, I was just blown away. And let me tell you, I have locked arms with your organization, because I just think what you're doing is so incredible. I mean, I'm blown away by this. This is amazing. But what all of you are doing, and to your point, it was the adversity, and it was the situation that really gave that extra energy to the older girls to break that record.
Yes. And the most important part of that is the sense of family.
Yes.
Oftentimes we feel alone, and that's when we're attacked.
Right.
Right. And for them to come together, because they're kids.
Right.
So sometimes we have to tell them, sit down, be quiet, and sometimes using different words, right?
Hey, listen, sometimes we need to say that as some adults, because I always say all the time, my husband will say, Jens, how come you have more patience with kids? And I said, because they're kids. I mean, you expect adults to understand this, but sometimes it just doesn't work out that way.
So this happened. We competed Friday, and then the finals were on Sunday. I'm sorry, we competed Saturday, and the finals were on Sunday. So the first event happened that Saturday. So Sunday morning, we get up, we eat breakfast, we lock arms, we pray, and the tone was different. And again, that is the teaching point, that we can have our differences. I don't like what you said yesterday. I don't like how you look at me today, right? But at the end of the day, we're family.
Right.
And we're going to create a mission, create a purpose, and we are going to work jointly for the purpose.
Right.
So for us, that is the tie that binds families, cultures, and community.
Right.
So the process is outstanding to win the medals. Like, it's outstanding to have the plaque, but the plaque represents a small portion of what is truly important. That's why when we give you this plaque, we give it to people that we care about, and we know care about us, but we don't have to hold on to the plaque because we have the spirit.
Right, exactly. And everything that you learned along the way,
Yes.
you can't take that away from
The
anybody.
intangibles.
Exactly. And that's what every other month for the podcast, we have a book. And the book, and I say because sometimes it takes you 2 months to read a book. Now, sometimes you can read a book in a weekend. And I will tell you, the book that we are finishing for May is You're a Badass. And by Jen Sincero, because you are a badass. But the quote today is, if you're serious about changing your life, you'll find a way.
Yes.
If you're not serious, you'll find an excuse. And I think that's what we're talking about, is it's attitude, it's perspective, it's the intangibles. And it really is what separates people from the winners. The winners understand that loss is temporary, failing is temporary. It's all about lessons. And our book for the next 2 months, for June and July, is The Seat of the Soul. And let me tell you, this is a life-changing book. It's a life-changing book because it talks about exactly what we are covering right now, and that it's the multi-sensory, it's the feelings, it's realizing that things are not happening to you, they're happening for you.
Yes.
And understanding that everything that happens, there's a lesson.
Without a doubt. And what we also teach the difference between feelings and emotions, right? Feelings is being intuitive to the moment. Emotions is how we and what we think about the feeling.
Right, right.
So oftentimes we bring emotional baggage, what we think about certain feelings, certain situations, into places that they don't belong.
Right.
And then it's like wearing a snowsuit when it's 110 degrees outside.
Right.
It doesn't fit. And you're going
Right.
to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But the thing, I think one of the most important lessons that we all really need to learn is that as humans, we are more alike than we are different.
Yes.
And that love is always the answer. One of the things out of this book, it talks about if you drill down to the intent of everything you think or do or say, it's either coming from fear or coming out of love.
100%.
I mean, that's all it is. I mean, it's
100%.
like when you drill down to it, and I'm sorry about that, Jason, I hit this again, but when you drill down to
She's getting excited.
to the bottom, to the very bottom, you are either thinking or doing or saying based out of fear or based out of love. And here's the thing, what you're saying about your feelings and emotions is when you do things out of love, it's okay.
Yes.
You're yes, you're going to have feelings and but you're not going to bring that inappropriateness into a situation because you realize, hey, look, I might feel this way, but one of the things that is a difference between the mind of a human and the mind of an animal is we can stop and evaluate what we're thinking.
Yes, actually, I had a coaching session just last week similar to the topic, right? So as humans, we operate on two basic levels, procreation and self-preservation. So the question is, when I have an action, what am I trying to recreate or what am I trying to protect? Then when we tie that to love or fear, then we go a little bit deeper into it. And then when we break down the constructs of what love and fear are, right? So fear doesn't truly exist.
Right,
Fear is
exactly.
the anticipation of something that may or may not happen.
Right.
However, danger is real. So how do we quantify? We quantify fear with knowledge. We quantify danger with understanding.
Right.
Walking across the street is no more dangerous now than it was when you were 2 years old. But you don't fear it anymore because now you have the understanding of how to do so safely. So is everything else in our life. So when we train, and with the youth, it's on a smaller scale. With adults, it's
Right.
more direct.
Right.
But when we train and we say, hey, I actually fear this, the question is, where's the danger?
Right.
Then once we quantify where the danger is, we create the knowledge and the understanding to affect that, then we pass that. And it's no different than a child being stuck on 2 + 2.
Right.
When's the last time you had a problem with someone saying 2 + 2? It was
Right.
a long time ago. But for a first grader, 2 + 2, we might be here for the next, 30 minutes.
Right. Exactly.
So it's the process.
Right. And the thing I think is so important, and one of the reasons why I named the show Big Bold You is because people don't realize how big we have the capacity to grow.
Yes.
How big of a positive impact or a negative impact we can make on people's lives
Without a
and
doubt.
in our lives. And it just you don't really realize your full potential. And our full potential is limitless. We truly are limitless. I'm a faith-based person. I know that if you have an idea, an inspiration, it's not yours, it's God's. God's given it to you, and He plants that in our hearts, in our souls, in our heads. Not when we're able to do it. He plants us because we have to prepare ourselves. We have to
Without a doubt.
grow. And you can't succeed alone. You can't grow by yourself. That's one of the reasons why I love highlighting people like you that are real leaders that not only do you talk the talk, but you walk the walk. I mean, you are who you are because of adversity.
Yes. So all great architects create the blueprint first. So the vision that we see in our mind, that's the blueprint. The faith is us walking toward it before it's created. As an architect, you measure twice and cut once. So again, oftentimes we all have visions. We all grow up seeing this idea of ourselves. But then along the way, life makes us believe that it was untrue
Right.
or it was just a dream.
Right.
Rather than it being a reality that we can walk into. So the gift that we give is allowing people to understand that whatever it is you're created to, whatever it is that you're dreaming, it's possible.
It's possible.
Now, if you're dreaming something that you can create, solve, and have in your hand, and you know how to do it all by yourself, it's too small.
Right.
It's too small.
That's such a good point, Germaine.
There's no God. You got to leave a little room for God.
Yeah, that's such a good point. If you can do it all by yourself, you need to be thinking bigger.
It's too small.
It's too small, But I love that. I love that you said that, because here's the thing. I think for a lot of people is they do know they can't do it by themselves, and then they get scared.
Yes.
And so they say, oh, I can't do this by myself, so I can't do it. Well, you're not supposed to. That's what I say all the time. It's by design that you can't do it by yourself. But if
Yes.
for some reason you are doing everything by yourself, you are thinking too small.
Correct.
I love it.
There has been nothing great created by one person in and of themselves with their only their efforts.
Right. And it will never be that. It will always be like that.
Yes.
It'll always be that way. Jason, pull up that Ask Jen's question, because we've really covered it a lot, but I would like specifically for Germaine to answer this as well. So this is, how do I get through adversity? Number one, I always say with the right perspective. And that right perspective is that you are going to be a victor and not a victim. Number two, to connect with strong-minded people that will help you achieve it, because to the point you can't do it by yourself. Number three, to look for the lesson. Like we said today, things are happening for you, not to you. And number four, I think it's so important to be grateful for all things. To me, Germaine, what sets us apart from being ordinary to extraordinary is the ability to be grateful for all things, because we know there's a purpose. So follow up with some of the things that you believe are so important for people getting through adversity.
Well, we have to, one, understand that adversity is natural. There's only 3 stages of life, right? You either approaching a storm, you either in the storm or coming out of a storm. So a storm is in your forecast, no matter what.
Right.
Secondly, is our vantage point, is our perception. What does adversity mean? To me, I don't use the word problem. I only use the word opportunity. So every time I'm hit with an adverse situation, I look at an opportunity for growth. Sometimes and oftentimes that growth is painful.
Oh, yeah. It usually is.
So the issue is, are you willing to go through the pain?
Right. And if you're not willing to go through the pain, you don't get that power that was coming towards you, because to your point, it's all opportunities for us to grow.
Correct. And I love the word that you use, power, because when we train, we define power as specified and understood knowledge for a specific intent.
I love
Power
that.
is when you have knowledge and understanding and you use it for a specific intent. That is what power is.
Right.
So to what you were saying, you don't get the power if you don't go through
That's
the
right.
process.
Exactly. That's right. And and that's the thing, is people want to they want to have the success, to your point, without the pain, without the journey, without the process. And it just doesn't work that way. And it will never work that way.
They just want the social media pic.
Yeah, exactly. And to close up, I want to say that something that's really near and dear to me is mental health issues.
Yes.
And I think that, I've had people here on the podcast who have experienced loved ones that have committed suicide. And they've really taught me that it's die by suicide. And it's because it's a whole process. And there are people out there, and you might be one of them, or there's somebody that you might know that's suffering because they haven't really grasped that adversity is part of life. And I loved what you said, Germaine, when you said, look, there's 3 stages. You're either coming up for the storm, you are in the storm, or you're coming out of the storm. And it'll always be that way, because we've always got to grow more, and we've got to grow more. And listen, that's what I say. If the waters are smooth, enjoy it, but it's not going to last.
Yeah.
It's not going to last.
Stock up on everything you need, because it's
Right.
coming.
And that's what I say all the time too, is in same flip side is when people are going through hard times, that's not going to last either. You know, it doesn't matter. It's change is always headed our way, and sometimes that change brings great things, and sometimes that change brings more difficult things. But whatever it is, we're going to get through it bigger
Yes.
and better and stronger.
I agree. I agree. So I love it.
Well, listen, I love you, Germaine. I love you. I love what you're about. I'm going to probably cry all the way home just holding this plaque and understanding I just think that's amazing, everything that you do.
I'm gonna tell you, you got off lucky because again, when I left Atlanta this morning at midnight, I had about 10 kids with me. So we got here early enough for me to drop them off and their parents to come get them.
Right.
But the original plan was to come straight here with the kids
Oh,
and then have them come in here and then, parade for
oh
you.
my gosh. Well, we have to have the kids. We've got to have the athletes come. And I've really enjoyed seeing them and just their energy and their excitement. And I love the coaches and I love the parents. You've just been phenomenal. And I'll tell you, if you haven't taken away 10 great nuggets today, you need to rewatch this. So Germaine, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming. And we are going to have the athletes back. And we just want to say, please, subscribe to the Jens Johnson YouTube channel. Share this. Help other people play bigger in their lives. If you are somebody that listened to Germaine and said, you know what, I like what I hear and I want to get to know him better and I want to be inspired and coached by him, please let us know and we'll make sure that we put your website and all the ways to get in touch with you on the comment box. Because listen, one thing I know about Germaine and one thing I know about me is we are not going to stop. We're just going to keep on going.
Keep on going.
We're going to keep on going. So until we meet again, be big, be bold, and most importantly, be you. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.